The device was unstable and one of the metal parts suddenly snapped under pressure.
I've never used a pocket puh in my life, but after seeing this video, I most definitely will never ever use an adult toy in my life. The worst Gooner deaths ever.
The asphyxiation gooning incident. On June 14th, 1994,
Wait, asphyxiation gooning? You wanted a goon so good that you had to choke yourself? What is the correlation between beating your meat and choking yourself? Don't tell me you choked yourself to death just so you could get a good nut out.
38-year-old man left his small home in Asheville, North Carolina, and telling his family he was going for an evening walk to clear his mind. He often visited a wooded area behind a local park when he wanted privacy, and the route was familiar enough that no one thought much of it. Clad in casual outdoor clothing and carrying a small backpack, he walked into the tree line just before sunset, disappearing into the dense, quiet forest. As daylight faded, he ventured farther off the main path than usual. Eventually,
so you walking miles away into the forest just to get you a good nut? For real? That's the only time you're willing to go out on a hike for? To just get in a secluded place to beat your meat?
stopping in a secluded clearing about 50 yards from the trail. He set down his backpack, removed several personal items, and began preparing an arrangement using a rope tied between two sturdy.
You see, this is what happens when you get too addicted to gooning, gang. You start chasing this weird ass high. I'm sorry, how deep you have to be into gooning for you to walk into a forest or a trail, tie a whole rope to just goon?
Trees. The setup appeared practiced, done with deliberate care, suggesting this was not the first time he had been in this spot or engaged in this ritual. As night deepened, the man engaged in a sequence that involved controlled pressure and suspended positioning. At some point during the process, however, he shifted his weight incorrectly or
so you bouncing up and down beating your meat? What could have possibly triggered in your body for you to even want to pursue this to begin with? What had to happen in you to be like, you know what? This feels alright. But what would feel better is to tie myself in a rope around my neck with two trees and start beating my meat. Like what?
Incorrectly or misjudged the timing. The rope system, meant to allow controlled release, failed to do so once he lost consciousness. The moment he blacked out, his body became completely unsupported. Without the ability to adjust himself or break free, he remained suspended in a kneeling position, slumped forward and unable to breathe. Hours passed and the forest remained quiet.
Damn, not only that, but they caught this nigga in the worst way. What does asphyxiation do for how good your bust is? Is it like all your other body senses are numb, so the only thing you could feel is down there? Not only that, but do you know how crazy this man had to look when they caught his ass? Somebody just had to be going on a morning jog and then they seen a man with his hand in his dick, just like knocked out.
And undisturbed. The next afternoon on June 15th, a group of hikers walked along the same trail, taking advantage of the warm weather. About half an hour into the hike, one of them noticed something odd. When they moved closer and saw the unmoving posture of the kneeling figure, they realized something was wrong. They immediately called 9.
They realized something was wrong when they got closer and then they saw his positioning. They didn't see something wrong about a man with a rope in his neck beating his meat. That wasn't already crazy.
911. When paramedics arrived, they confirmed he had been dead for many hours. Investigators recognized the pattern as a classic case of accidental death during a private high-risk solitary act of gooning.
Wait, they recognize this? This is some shit that's common?
The Goonside incident. On January 8th, 2025, a 27-year-old man named Nautica Malone drove his sedan into the drive-through lane of Bikini Beans Coffee
Bikini Bottom? What the fuck? Yo, come on, gang. That's what y'all naming y'all coffee after?
in Tempe, Arizona, just after 7 a.m. He had left home unusually early that morning, according to his family, saying he needed fresh air and a change of scenery. As he approached the service window, a barista preparing for the morning rush noticed him rolling forward at a slow, measured pace. When he reached the window, she greeted him, expecting a—
Dude, I don't understand. How are you driving and gooning at the same time? Like, what type of rush do you need for you to do that? Is phone content not enough? Is the fact that you have an actual lady at home not enough? One that you could hit at any time? You get an urge of just being in your car and looking at ladies and beating your meat?
routine order. But within seconds, she realized Nautica had no pants on. She pulled out her phone and began recording the encounter, capturing the man's quiet, vacant expression as he sat behind the wheel. The video lasted only a few seconds before the car eased forward and exited the lane. The clip was shared privately at first, circulating among coworkers, but by late afternoon, it had been forwarded again and again until someone uploaded it to social media. Within hours, it was widely circulating across multiple platforms, gathering captions, jokes.
I'm embarrassed for bro. Goon Lord, the last Gooner, the Gooner among us. Bro could have used his imagination, by the way. Wow.
And commentary. Over the next 2 days, Malone withdrew from friends and family. According to relatives, he stayed mostly in his room, leaving only briefly to pick up mail or get water. He ignored calls from coworkers.
Yo, Simple Pay, you know you dead wrong, gang. Dick calling, you know what the situation is. You know what he's about to do. This is what you gonna do?
Disabled several of his social media accounts and stopped responding to messages. His brother later told reporters that the shame and public attention seemed to overwhelm him almost instantly. And on the morning of January 11th, Malone left home quietly. He drove west toward Goodyear, Arizona, taking a long, looping route along the highway, avoiding busier exits. At some point during the drive, he called his brother, but the call went unanswered. When the brother returned the call minutes later, it rang without response.
Oh no, I know that's gonna haunt his brother for the rest of his life, bro. Wow.
Just after 3 p.m., a passerby walking through a quiet parking area near a small business park noticed a black sedan parked at an odd angle beneath a tree. The engine was off and the driver inside appeared completely still. The passerby approached slowly and tapped on the window, but there was no movement. Alarmed, they dialed 911 and reported an unresponsive person in a vehicle. Police and paramedics arrived within minutes. After forcing the door open, responders determined Malone had died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, with the estimated time of death several hours earlier.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this, bro. Even if I had a whole tape of me leaked, let's say my shit was like 2 inches too, I'm still not gonna end my life over that, bro. There's more to life than just your body. I know it's easier said than felt, I guess, but dude, who cares? But they didn't even see or me. For some reason, I thought he didn't see the video, but he saw the video that got leaked. Don't get me wrong, very embarrassing. But at the end of the day, life goes on. You know how much people that were famous one time in like Vine or like people that are Instagram comedians that people start to forget? You were gonna be someone that everyone forgot. I forgot about this.
Firearm was recovered inside the vehicle. On his phone, officers found a short message addressed to his family, written earlier that morning, apologizing for the pain he felt he had caused them. The falling Gooner incident. On March 18th, 2011, a 32-year-old man returned to his small Milwaukee studio apartment after a long work shift. He dropped his keys on the counter, turned on his TV for background noise, and headed straight for the bathroom. A few minutes later, he decided he wanted to goon. He brought a small stool from the living room and placed it beside the bathtub. He propped his phone upright against a shampoo bottle, playing a video he wanted to goon to. Based on the coroner's office reconstruction, he climbed onto the small stool so he could goon in a certain position.
I don't care what anyone says, the best place to goon is in the comfort of your own bed. Maybe not the best time to address this, but getting a chair, standing on the shower, standing on a table, standing on a desk, what are you doing? Getting on top of a stool in the middle of the bathroom? Why?
But the stool wasn't stable on the slippery bathroom tiles. While he was in action, the stool suddenly slid out from under him. He lost his balance instantly. He fell backward, hitting his head hard on the edge of the bathtub, and was knocked unconscious immediately.
I'm just thinking, recovering these people and seeing their dead body, and they're just butt-ass naked, and you see like what's playing on their phone has to be so weird. I mean, obviously by the time someone saved him, his phone was probably dead, but that's crazy.
Immediately. With no one else in the apartment to help him, he stayed on the floor without ever waking up. When he didn't show up for work the next morning, his co-workers requested a welfare check. The landlord entered the apartment and found the scene unchanged. The phone still playing, the stool overturned.
The phone's still playing? Yo, those coworkers are some really good coworkers. They didn't see him check into work once, and then they thought there was something wrong with him. What?
And the man lying on the bathroom floor where he had fallen. Paramedics were called to the scene and they confirmed he had died from a head injury caused by the fall. The ladder incident. On June 11th, 2019, a 38-year-old man in rural Oregon carried an aluminum ladder behind his house and placed it against a tall pine tree at the edge of his property.
Why? Bro, are we gooning to like videos or are you gooning to the scenery? Is the thought of the sun coming down enough to turn you on? Why are we going to nature to start gooning? There is not a single comfortable place in this area that I would goon to.
He often climbed the tree to get cell reception, and neighbors later reported that he had a habit of spending long periods alone outdoors.
Okay, now I kind of see why he climbed the tree. Because if I'm watching a banger video and it's a little rough and I need to get that connection, I don't think I climb a tree, but I definitely go outside of my house. That's all I'm gonna say.
Afternoon, he set up the ladder in a secluded spot and climbed roughly 15 feet up, settling on a sturdy branch. He began engaging in gooning while seated on the branch, believing he was
Yo, what are we doing?
out of sight and in complete solitude. As the minutes passed, he shifted his weight repeatedly, bracing his foot against the tree trunk while using the other to maintain
I'm sorry, why is he painting it like that?
balance. The branch beneath him was stable, but the ladder he had climbed was not properly secured. At some point during his activity, his movement caused the ladder to tilt backward. Startled, he reached instinctively toward it, losing his balance on the branch in the process. Within seconds, he tumbled together with the ladder down the slope beneath the tree, striking the ground chest first. A hiker on a nearby trail heard the crash and discovered him unconscious beside the flattened
With his meat out, was he still hard? Probably not. I hope not. Does it matter?
ladder. Emergency services were called immediately, but despite resuscitation efforts, he was pronounced dead at the
Wait, when they were giving them that resuscitation or like the CPR, did they pick his pants up or were they like, fuck it, we don't have enough time, give him mouth to mouth?
scene from blunt force trauma to the thorax, including multiple fractured ribs and cardiac injury. During the investigation, police found his phone, open browser tabs, and physical evidence confirming he had been engaging in solitary
Your last goon was Mia Khalifa, gang? Those are bad goons, bro.
sexual activity moments before the fall. The D-Cut incident. On July 14th, 2016, a 45-year-old man returned to his small apartment in Eastern Europe after a day of running errands. He set
I'm sorry, what is this called?
down his bags, turned on a small radio for background noise, and made his way to the bedroom. He retrieved a homemade metal device he had been experimenting with and brought it to the bed, arranging
I'm sorry. What is that homemade metal device? I'm over here thinking he's using a toy, like, you know, one of those adult toys that has the suction on them. A homemade metal device? What could possibly be a metal device that feels good?
it carefully for use. Based on investigators' reconstruction, he attempted to use the device while sitting on the edge of the bed. The device was unstable and one of the metal parts suddenly snapped under pressure.
I've never used a pocket puh in my life, but after seeing this video, I most definitely will never ever use an adult toy in my life.
The broken piece caused a deep cut to his groin. He tried to stop the bleeding, but the wound was severe and involved a major blood vessel. Alone in the apartment, he was unable to get help or call emergency
My dick bleeding, cuh.
services. Within minutes, he lost consciousness due to rapid blood loss. When he didn't respond to friends who visited later that evening, a welfare check was requested. Authorities entered the apartment and found the scene unchanged. The device broken, and the man lying unconscious on the bed where he had been attempting to use the device.
Like, what do you even tell his family members? I feel like some deaths, like as sad as they are, it just sounds a bit embarrassing, you know? I apologize, ma'am. We found him dead lying next to a pocket pussy. Like, damn! That just sounds crazy, bro.
Paramedics confirmed that he had died from hemorrhagic shock caused by the laceration. The obsessed Gooner incident. On October 14th, 2020, a 33-year-old man woke up in his small apartment in the city. His nights had become sleepless, spent scrolling through videos and live streams of a single adult performer he believed was secretly communicating with him. To him, every post, every glance at the camera was a coded message meant only for him.
She's looking at the cameraman. She's getting the angles. She's not talking to in Morse code, gang. What type of actress is talented enough to do Morse code while she getting smashed? I don't know if you know this, but it's her job to make you feel like you're the one doing it, bro. You're not. You're a viewer.
Investigators later found that he had stopped going to work, cut of his friends and family, and had isolated himself almost entirely. Notes, screenshots, and printed messages littered his apartment, all meticulously annotated with interpretations of the performer's signals. Over time, his fixation had escalated. He convinced himself that he needed to meet her in person to prove his loyalty. That morning, he packed a backpack with essentials, including a handwritten letter and several printed screenshots, and left his apartment. He traveled by public transit.
Yo, what makes you think that is a normal way to approach somebody? You have better chance at just giving her a couple $1,000s. What are you doing? You make yourself look like a weird creep. You are one, but handing someone screenshots of them smashing, you do know these adult stars have a life outside of what they do, right? Like, they don't want their whole persona to be someone getting clapped.
To the city where he believed she was filming, following directions pieced together from interviews and online posts. For hours, he wandered near the area, checking security cameras and rehearsing what he would say. He refused to contact anyone for help, believing that any interference would ruin everything. As evening approached, he attempted to climb a fire escape to get a closer look at the studio where he believed she was working. Surveillance footage later showed him pause midway, hesitate, then lose his footing. Emergency responders arrived too late. He was already dead. The medical examiner ruled the death an accidental fall, noting that exhaustion, sleep deprivation, and distraction from obsessive fixation had contributed to his fall.
So he died because he was just so obsessed with cooch. Are you for real? You were willing to risk your entire health to find this girl that you know damn well that if she saw you, she would probably be disgusted? Wow.
Enforcement later confirmed that the adult performer had no knowledge of his existence, had never communicated with him, and played no role in the accident. The Valentine incident. On February 14th,
of all times to possibly die from gooning, it's on Valentine's. Did you not have a shorty with you?
2014 on Valentine's Day, a man in Bloemfontein, South Africa, was reported reportedly alone inside his apartment for most of the day. According to local accounts that later spread widely online, he had taken the day off and remained indoors without contact with friends or family. Throughout the afternoon and into the evening, he repeatedly engaged in gooning while isolating.
Dude, the max amount of times you could goon a day before I look at you crazy, and this is not daily, it's 2 times. If you are gooning more than that, and I'm not saying you should be gooning 2 times a day. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that's the max if you are extremely down bad. Anything more than that, you are crazy.
In his residence. By nightfall, he had allegedly masturbated 62 times over the
62. This man is nutting 3 times an hour. How? Bro, at the 5th time, you're shooting nothing but blanks. 62 times? I feel like your shit should be sore. It should be hurting. It should be like, no, put me down, gang. Bro, I don't think he's doing anything but busting. At this point, he's probably shooting water, gang.
Course of the day. Neighbors later stated they had not seen him leave the apartment, and phone calls to his number went unanswered. Concern grew when relatives were unable to reach him later that evening. After attempts to make contact failed, he was discovered unresponsive inside the apartment. Emergency medical services were called to the scene, but he showed no signs of recovery and was
was his meat purple at that point?
Pronounced dead. Preliminary reports attributed the death to cardiac arrest following extreme physical exertion. Medical professionals noted that intense and repeated sexual activity can significantly elevate heart rate.
I should have knew this before I had a 20-some last night. Damn, like, nah, I'm trolling, but yo, I'm telling you, bro, being a virgin is good for you, bro. Having no play at all, you're helping yourself. I'm telling you, gang, it's a flex to not have women. I'm not one of them, but I'm saying, like, it's okay.
And blood pressure, particularly in individuals with undiagnosed cardiovascular conditions. The carrot incident. On an ordinary evening, a 40-year-old woman entered her bedroom, closing the door behind her. She moved with quiet focus, retrieving a big carrot from the kitchen. She lay back on the bed and started using the carrot.
How big is a carrot on average?
To goon. After a few minutes, an unexpected event occurred. A fatal air embolism formed in her. She gasped, a shudder ran through her body, and then all motion ceased. Alone and vulnerable, she collapsed onto the bed, unconscious. Hours later, family members noticed her absence from normal household activity.
No! She had children? R.I.P. I hope she wasn't planning to feed anybody that carrot. That's all I gotta also say on that.
Concerned, they entered the bedroom to check on her and found her completely unresponsive. Paramedics were called immediately, but there was nothing they could do. She was pronounced dead on the scene. The investigation revealed that the cause of death was a rare, tragic air embolism, triggered by the insertion of the carrot during her self-stimulation. No foul play was involved. The incident became noted as an extremely unusual but documented medical case.
Wait, so you could die from getting dead? I always knew my meat was capable of ending lives, bro. This shit dangerous. I gotta put this away. That's the reason why I'm not going around. I care about women. R.I.P. her though. R.I.P. Wow. That's just so unfortunate. I be feeling bad when people be having those like extreme case deaths, like 1 in a million.
The Christmas tree incident. On December 18th, 2009, a 42-year-old man was alone inside his apartment in a small city in Germany. He had recently decorated his living room for the holidays, installing a string of electric Christmas tree lights connected to a standard wall outlet. Neighbors later reported that they saw his apartment illuminated late into the evening. According to the subsequent investigation, the man began engaging in gooning while alone. At some point, he clamped a string of plugged-in Christmas lights to his nipples.
No, genuinely speaking, does holding your nipples give you stimulation? On top of all of that, you got electric wires on that. It's not fingers. Hold on, this man nipples got electricity? Cause how the hell the Christmas lights are still up?
During the course of the activity, electrical current passed through his body. Within seconds, the electrical shock disrupted the normal rhythm of his heart. There were signs of sudden collapse near the seating area of the living room, but no emergency call was placed. The following morning, after he failed to report to work and did not respond to calls, a concerned relative contacted authorities. Police entered the apartment and found him unresponsive. Emergency service.
Yo, can you imagine being one of these workers, seeing somebody with 2 Christmas lights wired up to their nipples and their hand on their meat? Bro, that's crazy.
Confirmed his death at the scene. A post-mortem examination determined the cause of death to be cardiac arrhythmia due to electrocution. The toy incident. On November 2025, a 22-year-old woman in Roysambu, Kenya, retired to her bedroom, closing the door behind her. She retrieved a vibrating toy device and began using it, fully absorbed in the sensations, unaware of the danger that would soon unfold. Moments later, a sudden loud pop rang out from the device like an electrical surge from a malfunctioning mechanism. The sound startled her briefly, but she refused to let the toy go.
Okay, this one I can't really blame her. I know that sounds crazy, but a lot of the times, let's be real, when you're like 50% into gooning, you gotta see it through, my boy. Like, you gotta see it through. She probably thought it wasn't something crazy. She probably thought it was just a little, you know, a slight malfunction, nothing crazy.
Oh, a few seconds later, the electrical current coursed through her body, leaving her tense, then motionless. Neighbors, hearing the strange, loud noise, knocked.
Okay, it was that loud? The malfunction noise was that loud? I thought it was like a... Why did I spit? Holy shit.
On the door. When there was no response, they alerted emergency services. Paramedics arrived and found her unresponsive with the device still in place. Despite their efforts, she was pronounced dead at the scene from electrocution, and the investigation concluded that the death was caused by a malfunctioning electrical sex toy. The 72 Acts. On April 12, 2006, a 17-year-old male student from a small town in Uttar Pradesh, India, was found deceased in his family's modest home. He had reportedly told a close friend the previous day of his intention to engage in gooning
74 times nonstop. What is the world record? 83 times in 24 hours. That's almost 4 times an hour.
74 times consecutively, a goal he framed as a test of physical endurance.
Anything is possible. Wow.
And self-discipline. On the morning of the incident, his parents left for
Wait, he said is physical endurance and self-discipline? Nigga, that's self-discipline to you?
work at a local textile mill, leaving him home alone to study for his upcoming exams. He retreated to his small room, closing the wooden door behind him. Hours passed. He continued his gooning, pushing past normal physical limits. By the time his mother returned home in the early evening, the house was silent. She found his door still closed, and after receiving no response, she forced it open. He was lying on his cot, unresponsive and visibly distressed in his final moments. A neighbor with a motorcycle rushed him to the nearest clinic, but the doctor could only pronounce him dead on arrival. Local authorities were notified, and an initial police report documented the circumstances based on the friend's testimony and the family's account. The death was attributed to cardiac arrest, brought on
Even when I was like middle high school, when I was like super like, I guess, into watching that type of shit, the most I've done it in a single day had to be like 4 or 5 times. I've never once thought to myself, let me push my limits. Because how are you that horny consistently throughout the day? After you finish once, maybe like a couple hours later, and that's maybe. It's not even worth it in my opinion. You're doing that shit 72 times?
by extreme physical exertion and dehydration. The Reverend who gooned. On June 24, 2007, a 51-year-old Baptist minister named Reverend Gary Aldridge,
Bro, nigga, practice what you preach.
known for his energetic leadership and his role in growing Thornton Road Baptist Church from a small congregation to over 300 members, suddenly failed to attend normal morning services. When the popular religious leader did not appear in the pulpit, concern grew quickly among the congregation. A church member and a Montgomery police officer went to his residence in East Montgomery to check on his welfare. Around 10 a.m., they entered the home and discovered Reverend Aldridge unresponsive with dildo in his
I don't know what I was expecting to see or how he was gonna go. I thought he was just gonna go away because he just gooned too hard. You telling me you're a reverend and you stick a dildo up your butt? And I know his ass was probably up in that sermon talking about God only commends straight people only. If you're gay, hell nah. Whole time this man sticking a 6-inch dildo up his butt. Crazy work, man.
anus covered with a condom. Paramedics were called, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. During the subsequent medical examination, authorities determined the cause of death was accidental mechanical asphyxia. The autopsy revealed that the minister had died alone while pleasuring himself. Reports from the Montgomery Advertiser and later the Smoking Gun noted he was found in an elaborate state of bondage, wearing multiple layers of specialized gear including 2 wetsuits, a face mask, diving gloves, slippers, rubberized underwear, 2 ties, 5 belts, and 11 straps.
Yo, that nigga was a freak. No, that nigga was a freak. What? And he not even with anybody. He doing this shit dolo.
The head incident. On February 16, 1899, a 58-year-old French statesman named Félix Faure concluded his afternoon duties as the president of France. After a series of tense political meetings, he retired to a private drawing room, expecting a brief reprieve from the pressures of office. Late that afternoon, he had requested the company of a frequent visitor to the palace, a 30-year-old Parisian socialite named Marguerite Steinheil. Servants and palace aides remained nearby, accustomed to the president's routine of private consultations. Shortly after they were alone, phone, frantic start giving the president some head. After a few minutes, the quiet of the drawing room was suddenly broken by frantic cries for help.
Did she bite off his dick?
When staff rushed into the room, they found the president collapsed on a sofa, struggling for breath and slipping into unconsciousness.
Yo, she really snatched this nigga's soul away. That head game was so good. She stole his soul, bruh. Yo, R.I.P. him, bro. Wow.
Despite the efforts of his doctors, President Faure showed no further signs of recovery. He was pronounced dead at the palace just a few hours later. During the medical examination, authorities determined that the cause of death was a massive cerebral hemorrhage or stroke. The chicken coop incident. On June 27, 2013, a 53-year-old man surnamed Lou concluded his evening in a quiet village.
Yo, Lou, I swear to God, if you put in some chicken food around your meat so that the birds could come up and eat it, I swear to God, we fighting today, gang. Chicken coop incident? What could that be?
Old man surnamed Lou concluded his evening in a quiet village in eastern China. Lou was regarded by his neighbors as a reserved and private individual who lived
he was private because he was smashing them chickens, gang.
a solitary existence in a modest
Yo, be careful if this nigga hands you some egg whites, cause it might not be egg whites.
home. On one morning, neighbors noticed a lack of activity at his residence. By the afternoon, when Lou had still not appeared to tend to his property, a group of villagers became concerned and decided to check on him. They found his front door unlocked and entered the home, which was quiet and appeared to be in order. However, upon entering his bedroom, they found his computer still running, with the screen displaying explicit adult content that had been playing for hours. The search led them to the backyard, where they made a grim discovery. Lou was found unresponsive and completely naked inside a small chicken coop situated just outside his bedroom window. Local authorities were immediately summoned to the scene. During the medical examination, forensic experts reconstructed the final moments of Lou's life. They determined that he was so excited by the porno that for some reason, he went out to the chicken coop to goon.
Okay, that was a save, because I thought he went to them chickens and told himself, you know what, I'm going to Pound Town. Whoa. Either way, that's a crazy place to go. Of every place you could have potentially gooned at, the chicken coop.
Combination of his significantly elevated heart rate and the sharp drop in temperature outside created a severe physical strain. The official report concluded that the death was a result of natural causes brought on by acute physical overexertion in a cold environment. The beach incident. On July 1st, 2021, a 34-year-old woman named Christina Revels-Glick was arrested on a Thai beach.
Oh, this is the beach incident. I feel so bad for this lady. I don't know if this was tied to this video or like the rest of her life, but she got caught gooning in the beach, and then later on she just herself.
Island Beach in Georgia after onlookers reported her engaging in gooning with a sex toy. She appeared visibly distressed as officers confronted her. After initially denying the act, she admitted she had used the device for roughly 20 seconds because she was feeling stressed, expressing deep remorse to the officers as they escorted her away. In the months following the incident, after the body cam video went viral, Revels reportedly struggled with a downward spiral involving drugs and alcohol. The following spring, after she failed to make a rent payment, her landlady grew concerned and went to check on her well-being. Upon entering the residence, the landlady discovered Revels unresponsive in her home. Authorities were immediately contacted to perform a check of the scene. Investigators found no evidence of a struggle or foul play. During the medical examination, the coroner determined that the cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head, occurring on March 31st, 2022, approximately 8 months after her arrest. If you like this video and want to
I feel so bad for her, RIP. I feel like they should have never released that body cam. I don't think it was the body cam release that made her do it, because I'm pretty sure she did it way beforehand, but I don't think that's something that should be released, especially if you know the person is deceased. Anyways, YouTube, let me know what goon incident you thought was crazy. This video was insane. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, join the Twitch, subscribe to the gaming channel, all that good stuff. Wax here for life. Love y'all, and peace.